collar, white collar, black professors, white scholars, politicians, Dalai Lamas. Everybody in the whole wide world need hope if I be honest. I'm in that number.
Now on to the Memo situation led by Adam Schiff. So they're going to come up with a rebuttal 2 weeks after Trump blocked it. And or if you want to consider a block, but they're coming out with a rebuttal, the GOP. The Democrats come up with a rebuttal to the GOP memo release about the Trump dossier and the situation with Fusion GPS and everything like that. So it said 2 weeks after Trump blocked it, Democrats' rebuttal GOP memo is released. And it basically says the House Intelligence Committee released a redacted Democratic memorandum on Saturday countering Republican claims that the FBI and Justice Department officials had abused their power in spying on former Trump campaign aide. Why are you spying on people anyway? Who gives you the authority to spy? I know you don't like Trump. Hey, I'm not a big fan of Trump either. I wasn't a big fan of Hillary Clinton. I was a fan of Bernie Sanders, but the way he's been acting lately, he's losing. I'm not a fanboy. So what's the big deal? Let's keep reading. The document was intended by Democrats to offer a point-by-point refutation of what it called the transparent attempt by President Trump's allies on the committee to undermine the Congressional and Special Counsel investigation on Russia meddling in the 26th presidential election and possible coordination with the Trump campaign. Again, do I have to keep saying this? Do I have to keep saying this? Facebook posts memes on Twitter, retweets, somebody posting on a site that they thought it was legit. That make them a Russian bot, but we'll deal with you later, you punk news journalist. Anyway, the document was intended by Democrats to offer point-by-point refutation of what is called a transparent attempt of President Trump's blah 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 meddling in Russia meddling into 2016 presidential election, possible coordination of the Trump campaign. Really, possible coordination. Possible coordination when the whole time the Democratic Party was doing whatever they can to coordinate Hillary Clinton, and because she wasn't able to be crowned the Queen of the United States, now you want to jump on Trump and make up something which was made up day one after election, put in play, already planned in WikiLeaks document. The Pied Piper strategy. Remember that? Already planned by Hillary Clinton, by Donna Brazile, by Neera Tanden, by Robbie Muke. All these guys already planned this plan B. What do we do to make ourselves not look like a fool if Trump beat us and if he beat the brakes out of us? By the way, Trump beat you. And he beat the brakes on you off you. And it wasn't anybody that was online in an online community talking about Hillary Clinton. There was just as many people talking about Trump. There was just as many people talking about Bernie Sanders. And no, you cannot convince nobody through no memes or social media. And no, I'm getting off subject. It is an insult for you to look down on the American public and point the finger and tell them how dumb they are, that they can make up their own mind, that Russia hacked their mind and made them think ill about Hillary Clinton. Before Russia even came on the picture, she had many reasons for people to think ill about her, and Donald Trump too. They knew what they were going to get from her. They didn't know what they were going to get in Trump. I knew what I was going to get from both of them, so I didn't vote for neither one of them. Oh, they must influence you not to vote. No, baby. They voted, I voted, and many other people voted because of the record of Hillary Clinton. She sucked. Let me get back to the story. Sucked. She sucked at everything, but let me stop. But the dueling accounts reflected an extraordinary struggle on the committee to try to shape public perception of the credibility of the nation's top law enforcement agencies. For weeks, instead of focusing its full energy on the investigation and attack on the American democratic system, the committee has been pulled into a furious effort by Mr. Trump and his allies to sow doubts about the integrity of the special counsel inquiry and the agency conducting it. Now, first of all, the moment you put Robert Mueller, Mr. Mueller time on the scene, Mr. Iraq got weapons of mass destructions, and we need to do something about that. The moment he sat there on that seat and started making the case for George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, Colin Powell, Donald Rumsfeld, the moment he started to back them boys up, he lost me. No evidence at all, and we're going to go to war over something with no evidence. They're going to try to convince the American public, just like they're trying to do right now, to convince us to try to hack our minds. That's what you're trying to do. Sway public opinion to have us really think that Russia undermined our election. When we got all the evidence in the world that the DNC, from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top, undermined the election way before the Russians. And they got found out about it by WikiLeaks. And you want to say the Russians gave it to them, and you have no clue how the information came. And when it comes to investigation, they said it came pretty much from the DNC. And they say it came pretty much as a leak instead of a hack. And somebody possibly could have been murdered over that. I know somebody died all of a sudden because they delivered the papers to serve warrant, a lawsuit against the DNC. And I'll get on that another day. The DNC got the nerves to say the reason the opportunity to cheat you in an election is under the First Amendment. The nerves of them. We can rig election in the back room. The nerves of them. And you want to support them? Now, crooked as they are, I'm not going to support them or the RNC. It's time for a third party. But that's another story. The Democratic memo, going back to this, Mr. Trump and his allies to sow doubt about the integrity. Hey, there's all kind of doubt. There is no integrity in this baby. None whatsoever. No, none, not 1 ounce of integrity in this investigation. The indictments that went so far are for money laundering issues that happened way before the election. And the ones that are singing were either drunk or had some prior unethical business transaction going on in the past, way before Trump even ran. Like I said, a few of them was drunk, and they took a drunken testimony. A 2 drunk men. Really? You gonna take that drunk testimony? Adam Schiff, being the dummy that he is, actually had some pranksters. Said they had some information, and they pranked him. And this guy's trying to seem like he's standing up against Trump so he can run in the Democratic elections for president soon. Adam Schiff. Anyway, the Democratic memo amounted to a forceful rebuttal to the president's portrayal of the Russian inquiry as a witch hunt. It is. It is. There's many things to hunt. If you want to hunt President Trump on, many things. The emolument clause is one. Hiring a family member to be his top legislator is another one. Even though Robert Kennedy ended up working as Attorney General for his brother. But come on, there's many things to get Trump on. This ain't got a leg to stand on because this is made up. The Democratic Party just can't admit that they suck. And they cheated. And they undermined elections. And Russia ain't got nothing on them. Anyway, witch hunt being perpetrated by politically biased leaders of the FBI and the Justice Department. The newfound animosity toward the FBI, and I'm not a fan of Jeff Sessions, but everybody in the FBI are not Jeff Sessions suck-ups. And even though Jeff Sessions run the FBI, they still make do their own investigations. Among ostensibly law and order Republicans was reflected this past week as the Conservative Political Action Conference, or CPAC, where speakers like Wayne LaPierre, the head of the National Rifle Association, attacked what they call its rogue leadership. At the conference on Saturday, Representative Devin Nunes of California, the committee's Republican chairman, said the newly released memo showed that Democrats were engaged in a cover-up and were colluding with parts of the government to carry out. Why does that seem far-fetched? Because my thing is, why is Susan Rice unmasking things just to get a peek into the Trump administration? Why is Obama putting sanctions on Russia and Russians had nothing to do with the situation that was going with the electrical grid in Vermont? Why? Why are all these things done to this administration all because he made you all look stupid? You all look stupid. Made Obama look stupid, made Hillary look stupid, made those who supported Hillary look stupid. Anyway, let's go. The release was expected to be... The Democratic memo underwent days of review by the top law enforcement officials after the president blocked it. Its outright release 2 weeks ago, with the White House counsel warning that the document contained numerous properly classified and especially sensitive passages. On Saturday afternoon, after weeks of haggling over the redaction, the department returned the document to the committee so it could make it public. The release was expected to be the final volley, at least for now, in a bitter partisan fight over surveillance that has driven deep fissures or issues through the once bipartisan Intelligence Committee. Nobody needs to be spied on. Not the potential president, not the people who are running for president, and definitely not the president. Nobody. Representative Adam B. Schiff, who's trying to show himself strong so he can run for office today. Good Lord, don't do that. That's Trump for 8 years. Run Adam B. Schiff and see if you don't get Trump for 8 years. Run him. You think he's going to beat Trump? Come on, people. You already lost 15 million in Democrats in the primary. They're not coming back. I don't care how much you dim enter. I don't care how much Bernie Sanders cry out being the head hunter, the head recruiter for the DNC. They ain't coming. They ain't coming. Adam B. Schiff, the top Democrat on the committee, said on Saturday that the Democratic memo should put to rest Republican assertions of wrongdoing against former Trump aide Carter Page in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act process. Our extensive review of the initial FISA application and 3 subsequent renewals failed to uncover any evidence of illegal, unethical, or unprofessional behavior by law enforcement officers, and instead revealed that both the FBI and the Department of Justice made extensive showings to justify all 4 requests, he said in a statement. Republicans, including Mr. Trump, were undeterred. The White House dismissed the Democratic document as an attempt to undercut the president politically. Seems like that to me. Now let's get this. I'm not a Trump fan. But if you're going to do something, do it right. And do it ethically. But then again, Democrats don't know nothing about them ethically. They rigged their own elections. They rigged their own election. They undermined their own primary, their own democratic process. They did it first, with evidence to boot, with testimonials, people who've seen it happen and seen documents, a.k.a. Donald Brazil, DB. Rigged their own elections. And they got the nerve to holler, Russia, Russia, Russia. Got some nerves. The Democratic memo response on government surveillance abuse is total, political, and legal. Bust, Mr. Trump wrote on Twitter, just confirms all of the terrible things that were done so illegally. The president said on Saturday night that the memo confirmed the Republican version of the event and reflected poorly on the Democrats, suggesting that both were grounds for launching an investigation on his political opponents. Why not? You launched an investigation on him. He may have to launch an investigation on you. Tit for tat, right? Oh, you don't want that to happen? The nerves of him to even think of that? Really? The president can do that. If you feel like you're unjustly hunting them down, like the witches that you are on a broom, he can clap back. Now, honestly speaking, both of you suck. I don't trust the president. I don't trust the Democratic Party. I don't trust the Republican Party. But I'll continue with this particular story. That was nothing but confirmation, according to Trump. And a lot of bad things happen on the other side, not on this side, but on the other side. And somebody should look at it. And he's right. Because what they did was really fraudulent, Mr. Trump said in a telephone interview with Fox News host Jeanine Pirro, a woman that I cannot stand as a political host. Cannot stand her. By somebody, the president added, I mean, you know who. He appeared, by somebody, the president added, I mean, you know who. He appeared to be referring to Jeff Sessions, the attorney general, whom he has savaged in recent days for failing to open an investigation of unspecific crimes by the Democrat. And rightfully so. He should get upset. They do need to open up a more of an investigation than the Clinton Foundation. They do need to open up a more investigation on the election rigging of the Democratic National Committee, who, by the way, said that it's their right under the First Amendment to cheat. The nerves of them. In the face of progressives and independents. The Intelligence Committee dispute centers on an application by the FBI in October 2016 to secure a secret warrant to spy on Mr. Page, suspected by the American law enforcement of being a Russian agent as well as a subsequent renewal. You guys going to get enough of this Russian agent junk. It's a bunch of junk. You call me one, you call everybody one. All. Why? Because they don't agree with you and they didn't want to crown your golden girl, your baby girl, Queen of the United States. I didn't need nobody to have my mind. She sucked, and she will make a terrible leader. Trump, he sucked and make a terrible leader, but I think she would have trumped Trump in sucking and making a terrible leader. The whole point is we don't supposed to be having neither one of them. We're supposed to have great leadership with great integrity. Now the Democrats are going to say, well, that's what we had with Hillary Clinton. That's what we got with Donald Trump, boy. Better recognize it's Trump Nation. Not yours no more. This is my land, bruh. Republicans in their own 3.5-page memo had claimed that the top law enforcement office officials abused the most sensitive powers in relying on political motivation research provided by the former British spy Christopher Steele, who came up with the Trump Dossier, which is a fraud financed by the Democratic National Committee, financed by Hillary Clinton supporters, and possibly Hillary Clinton, using Hillary Clinton funding. The Republicans complained that the FBI did not tell a secret intelligence court that Mr. Steele worked had been financed by the Democratic National Committee in Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. Let's go back. The Republicans complained that the FBI did not tell secret intelligence court that Mr. Steele work had been financed by the Democratic National Committee. There's that corruption again. That rogue, corrupt, horrible organization called the Democratic National Committee. And that horrible, corrupt candidate known as Hillary Clinton. Suggesting that a judge needed to know that information to evaluate the credibility of the information. But the Democratic documents showed that the FBI did tell the surveillance court that Mr. Steele research was commissioned by someone who wanted to discredit Mr. Trump. Yeah, the DNC, and that the information provided by Mr. Steele, a trusted source in the past, was only part of the evidence supporting the wiretap. Why are you wiretapping people? According to the memo, officials laid out a multi-pronged rationale for spying on Mr. Page, including his past interaction with Russian spies, and informed the court of the counterintelligence investigation then underway into the Kremlin covert influence campaign. Hold up. Mr. Steele had reactions and run-ins with Russians. Hold up. Hillary Clinton had run-ins. Obama had run-ins with Russians. Bill Clinton was paid by Russians $500,000 for one freaking speech. Yet at the same time, Hillary Clinton wrote off for uranium to be traded off. Hypocrites. Mr. Page, a former investment banker based in Moscow, had been on the FBI radar for years, long before his work with Trump. The Democratic memo revealed that the FBI interviewed Mr. Page as late as March 2016 about his contact with the Russian intelligence agency. The same month, Mr. Trump added him to the Foreign Policy Advisory Team. Let me stop there. So brother can't do no business with Russia without being called a traitor? So you're going to call every American businessman that's in Russia right now, that's doing business in Russia, that's trading in Russia, toothpaste to blow up dolls? Russians? Russian bots? Putin puppets? Then you got to get Hillary Clinton and Hillary Clinton and her husband Bill Clinton, because they definitely did the dance with Vladimir Putin in Uranium One. The information from Steele, let me finish this. It said the Democratic memo revealed that the FBI interviewed Mr. Page as late as March 2016 about his contact with Russian intelligence agencies. The same month, Trump had him to his Foreign Policy Advisory Team. Nothing wrong with that. That's not against the law. It's not. By the way, Astoria has some beautiful Russian women. So if I date one, hang out with one, I'm particular about who I get intimate with. Let's say I knock boots with one. Do that mean I gave up Russian secrets? Gave up United States secrets to Russia? If you call baby that was good a secret or password, then whatever. Mr. Page, a former investment banker. The information from Mr. Steele was about specific activities in 2016. Oh, come on. Come on. By Mr. Page, including suspected meetings with close associates of President Vladimir Putin of Russia during the July trip to Moscow, the Democrats said. Hold up. Let's go back. The information from Steele was about specific activities in 2016. What? Going to a club, dancing, going to a party, eating caviar and champagne, going to the museum, business meeting, specific activities in 2016. And some of those activities include meetings with close associates of President Vladimir Putin. Who are those close associates, and how do you know they're connected to Vladimir Putin? Is it a cousin or somebody, uncle who is married to the cousin and the grandson and the great-grandson of Vladimir Putin? Because that's what it seemed like. You're not naming names. You're not saying anything. You're spitting propaganda. Anytime people say close associates of President Putin without telling you how they're close associate, what kind of tree, what connects them to Putin? Do they have a business deal? Did they go to college together? Are they in school together? Do you work for the Kremlin? Don't fall for that. That's media manipulation. Meeting with close associates of President Vladimir Putin of Russia during the July trip to Moscow. the Democrats said. The document says that the Bureau did disclose to the court that it had made use of information that was gathered through politically motivated means, and quote from the application itself. Now the memo sucked, but I'm not going to go too much in detail. You can read it for yourself. It's online. The FBI speculates that the identified U.S. person was likely looking for information that could be used to discredit Mr. Trump's campaign. The same thing about information being used by Donald Trump Jr. to discredit Hillary Clinton. That's fair game. That's not against a crime. The American individual organization that had paid Mr. Steele. The American individual and organization. Come on. Here we go. Democrats said that it would have been inappropriate and inconsistent with standard practice for officials to have disclosed to the courts the name of American individuals and organizations that had paid Mr. Steele. Why would it be inappropriate? And why would it be inconsistent to disclose the names? You expect people to believe you because you say he say, she say? That's stuff kids do. Why you can't say who the American individuals are that paid Mr. Steele? I know why. Because most of them probably are linked to the DNC like those other people was linked to the Kremlin. In the case of Mr. Page, the surveillance application was reviewed by 4 different judges, all appointed by the Republican president. So you're trying to say this is a biased thing? In the case of Mr. Page, the surveillance application was reviewed by 4 different judges, all appointed by Republican presidents. So all because they're appointed by Republican presidents, they're going to look out for Trump and make the Democrats look bad? It don't take much to make the Democrats look bad. It doesn't. You already look bad for spying. You already look bad, Democrats, for paying Mr. Steele to get dirt on Trump. For making up this whole PP dossier. You already look bad. Each one of those judges approved the request. The memo also asserted that the applicants to renew the wiretap, the FBI provided the court with information from independent source corroborating Mr. Steele's finding. Much of the specific corroborating evidence was blacked out because it was whacked out. That's why. And according to the Democrats, the wiretap produced valuable intelligence. Why are you Democrats are wiretapping? That's eating away at our democracy. This is funny coming from the people who saying somebody undermining our democracy when you yourself are undermining our democracy. All right, for the FBI that used to justify its renewal 3 times, the documents once again offered specific examples which were redacted by the Justice Department. The warrant applicant itself remained under seal, and only a handful of lawmakers from either party have seen it. The New York Times has filed a motion asking the surveillance courts to take the unusual step of unsealing it. The Democratic documents also rebuke claims by Republicans, including Mr. Trump, that the FBI relied on Mr. Steele finding to open this counterintelligence inquiry in late 2016. Why would that sound far-fetched? Information from Mr. Steele that the memo said did not reach the FBI counterintelligence team. Investigating Russian mailing until mid-September, well after the inquiry had been opened after the FBI had already begun looking at other campaign associates. The document challenges several other prominent Republicans' claims. For instance, the Republican memo asserted that the FBI had presented to the court a Yahoo News article from September 2016 as corroboration of Mr. Steele's claim, despite the fact that it later emerged that Mr. Steele had been a source for it. The Democrats said that the article and another it did not identify was merely used to inform the court that Mr. Page had publicly denied having the meeting in Moscow. Republicans, that shouldn't none of your business anyway. Republicans on the Intelligence Committee released a point-by-point response to the Democratic document, which they said only confirmed that the FBI had relied on politically motivated material in a separate document that wrote that the Democrats had provided a lengthy but wholly unpersuasive attempt to distract from the committee key findings on surveillance abuse. And it is surveillance abuse. Mr. Page, in a statement, called the memo a smear campaign by Democrats that only made it more important that the underlying application had been released publicly. Democrats have insisted that Mr. Trump's deference to national security concerns and delays the memo release was hypocritical and politically motivated. Just a week before blocking their memo release, the president had ignored similar objections from the Justice Department and FBI to declassify the contents of the rival Republican memo, which was based on the same underlying document. So I'm done with this particular, and the bottom line is our country is losing its freedom right now. It takes nothing for them to spy on you. The Democrats, the DNC, Democratic war horse, was coming up with stuff on Trump and even spying on Trump and Trump associates. Susan Rice, the whole 9 yards. It is wrong and unethical, and they need to be called out for. And yes, just like you got a investigation on Trump for Russian collusion, there need to be an investigation on collusion in the DNC, and there need to be period, from robbing Bernie Sanders to this unmasking and spying on Donald Trump and Donald Trump's associate. You can't say, oh, this is okay, but this isn't okay. You can't have it both ways if you're going to invest. You need to invest in both. Both are horribly wrong. Both are horribly wrong. And for the Democrats to be spying on Trump, I know you don't like the guy, but that don't give you no right to break the law to try to bring him down the wrong way. Like I said, this is the other thing you can bring him down on, but you're too much of a punk to do it the hard way. You look for the easy way, thinking it's going to cause you to win the House and the Senate in 2018 and 2020 for the president. And you go on that rate, that's the fastest way to lose more seats and get Trump for 4 more years. You need to get your act together, Democratic National Committee. I'm Robert Brown with the Rob Report. Peace. Hey, if you like the content and if you like this particular video, please like it, share it. Also, if you want to become a patron, you can click the link below and become a patron. I'm no Don Lemon, thank God. So again, like, share, subscribe to the channel. We're over 1,500. We're on the march to 5,000. Please click the subscribe button and hit the notification button so you can know exactly when I put a new video up. If you like the content, hit our Patreon account up. A few bucks to get a brother a cup of coffee, maybe a hot dog and a soda from 7-Eleven. Even though I don't need that.